The spaceport was loud and full of voices. Ships came and went, carrying students, soldiers, and workers from every corner of the galaxy. Bright lights blinked above the landing pads, and huge screens showed the words, "Welcome to Galactic Academy. Entrance testing." Among the crowd stood a very small alien girl. She looked young, maybe younger than she really was. Her skin was soft blue, her ears long, and her eyes big and full of fear. She held her bag tight to her chest and kept her head down. Around her were tall, strong alien cadets, some with scales, others with fur, and all looking confident. She didn't fit in. One voice rose above the others. "Hey, who brought their pet?" said a tall, wide-shouldered alien cadet with orange skin and sharp tusks. His name was Rother, and he was known for being the loudest and strongest of his kind. Everyone laughed. The small girl looked up, then quickly looked down again. "Are you lost, little thing?" Rother grinned. "This isn't the nursery. This is a place for warriors." The girl said nothing. She just moved a little to the side, trying to hide. But Rother stepped closer. "I could crush you with one hand," he said, flexing his massive arms. "What are you going to do in battle? Tickle the enemy?" The laughter grew louder, but not everyone was laughing. A human stood not far away, quiet, calm, arms crossed. He wore the same academy entry badge as the others, but no one seemed to notice him. His name was Logan. Logan had short brown hair, dark eyes, and a stillness about him that made people uneasy if they noticed him at all. Right now, his eyes were fixed on Rother. But even more than that, they were fixed on the small alien girl. She didn't cry. She didn't run. She just stood there, alone in the crowd, trying to disappear. Logan's gaze stayed, locked on her. The testing began an hour later. All students were told to line up by species and wait for the first physical fitness test. Small alien girl stood at the end of the line for her group. Rother stood at the front of his, still laughing and joking with others. As they waited, Logan slowly walked closer to where she stood. He didn't speak. He didn't stare. He just stood near her, arms still crossed, eyes scanning the area. The girl noticed. She looked up at him for a second. Logan met her eyes. No smile. No words, but something in his eyes made her feel safe. She looked away quickly, but stood a little taller. The first test was a basic strength trial lifting heavy training blocks. The cadets stepped up one by one. Rother went first, lifting the block like it was a feather. He raised his arms and roared, "See? This is how a real warrior does it." Cheers from his group echoed across the yard. Then it was the girl's turn. She stepped forward slowly. The instructor handed her the same block. She wrapped her tiny fingers around the handle and pulled. It didn't move. She pulled again, harder this time. The block lifted an inch, then dropped. Behind her, laughter returned. Maybe she should try lifting a feather. Someone shouted. The instructor gave her a kind nod. "That's enough. Move to the next station." She turned to walk away. Her cheeks burned. Her heart felt heavy. But as she walked back, she passed Logan. He looked at her again. Still no smile. But this time he gave a small nod. Just once, she blinked. It was small, but it mattered. That night, in the academy dorms, the girl sat on her bed, holding back tears. She looked around. Other cadets laughed, played games, or chatted with friends. She had no one. She looked at her weak arms and sighed. Then she heard a soft clink outside her door. She opened it. No one was there. Just a small black training device sitting on the floor. A tag was stuck to it with one word. Try. She picked it up. It was light and compact, perfect size for someone small like her. She looked down the hallway. It was empty, but in a shadowed corner, Far away, Logan stood quietly before turning and walking away. She closed her door, placed the device on the ground, and began her first secret training session alone. But not truly alone anymore. The mornings at the Galactic Academy always began the same way. Cold air, loud alarms, and endless drills. The small alien girl woke before the alarm this time. Her hands were sore, and her arms trembled from last night's secret training. But there was something new in her chest, a quiet fire. She looked at the black training device again. It was still there beside her bed. No one had claimed it. No one had asked her about it, and she had told no one about the human dot in the training yard. Cadets lined up under a gray sky. Their instructors barked orders, pushing them through fitness trials, obstacle runs, and balance drills. It was only the second day, but many students already looked tired. Rother was not tired. The loud alien flexed his arms after every drill. He laughed at slower cadets. His eyes still searched for the small girl, like a wolf watching a mouse. He saw her quietly stretching in the far corner. His grin returned. "Careful," he shouted. "She might trip on her own feet." A few cadets laughed again, but this time, fewer than before. Some looked at her with curiosity now. Whispers had begun spreading. "She didn't give up after yesterday. She's training at night. I saw her lift more than before." Rumors moved fast at the academy. During hand-to-hand combat class, students were split into pairs. The small girl was paired with a tall insectoid cadet who looked nervous. No one wanted to hurt someone so tiny, but rules were rules. They bowed and began. She moved faster than before. She wasn't strong. Not yet, but she could dodge, twist, slide. She moved in patterns not common in alien fighting styles. Her body flowed like water, but each strike was exact, efficient, focused. From across the courtyard, Logan watched without expression. One of the instructors narrowed their eyes, whispering to another, "That style. It looks Terran." Later that day, while students ate in the common hall, Rother made his move. He walked up to her table, slamming a tray down hard. "Where are you learning those tricks, little worm?" He growled. She looked up but didn't speak. "You don't get strong overnight," he said, lowering his face close to hers. "Who's helping you?" Other cadets watched from nearby tables. They waited to see what would happen. Then a shadow fell across the table. Logan stood there, arms folded. Rother looked up. The room went silent. "You've said enough," Logan said calmly. His voice was low, but each word was like a weight dropped on the floor. Rother stared at him. The human didn't blink. Finally, Rother scoffed and stepped away. "Fine. Keep your toy." He walked off. The moment passed, but something had changed in the room. Now they were whispering about two things: the small girl's strange improvement, and the human who stood up for her. That night, she trained again. This time, she wasn't alone. She opened her door and found a small package. 2 fingerless gloves, made for her small hands. She stepped outside and walked quietly to the empty hallway. There, at the end of the corridor, was Logan, waiting. He didn't speak. He tossed her a practice stick, and they began. He didn't go easy. He moved fast, forced her to react, to block, to think. Her arms hurt. Her legs burned. But she kept going. Every time she fell, he waited for her to stand. And when she did, he nodded once. Just once. The next morning, Rother trained early. He was slamming heavy bags when he noticed the girl walking by, sweat already on her face, gloves in her hand. She didn't look at him. She walked past him like he wasn't even there. That was the first moment Rother felt something he had never felt before. Not anger, not pride, fear. The Academy's 3rd day began with fog in the sky and silence in the halls. Inside the practice dome, Lights flickered to life. Most cadets were still asleep, but two shadows were already moving fast, sharp, focused. One was small and light on her feet. The other was tall, calm, and precise. The small alien girl swung her training stick forward, sweat dripping from her face. Her gloves tightened with each strike. Logan, the human, blocked the blow with ease. He didn't speak. He only adjusted. Her stance with a tap, or pointed with his chin where she needed to move. Again and again. Fall. Rise. Fall. Rise. No praise. No complaint. Only silent training in the gray morning. Later that day, the combat instructors noticed a change. The girl, once too weak to hold a weapon, now sparred with firm steps and fast reflexes. Her eyes stayed calm. Her breathing was steady. She didn't win every match, but she never broke. One instructor leaned toward another. "She's learning a human method," he muttered. But from who? By lunch, the whispers had grown louder. "She moves like a Terran. She trains before sunrise. She hasn't spoken, but someone's guiding her." One student tried to approach her. "Hey, who's teaching you?" She didn't answer. Another cadet followed her during break, but found no one with her. Logan, as always, moved like a shadow. Always there, yet unseen. Watching from behind glass, leaning against walls. One step behind, always close, ever obvious. The girl never looked for him. She didn't need to. Asterisk. Meanwhile, Rother was growing angry. He could feel the attention shifting. People no longer laughed when he mocked her. Some even ignored him completely. One afternoon, as she completed a speed trial 3 seconds faster than the average, Rother slammed his boot into a nearby locker. He stared across the yard. Logan was there, arms crossed, watching as always. No words. Just those dark, unblinking eyes. Rother hated it. That night, Logan handed the girl a new item, a practice dagger. She looked at it. Confused. He simply nodded. Then he attacked. Faster, harder, sharper. Girl barely had time to block. Logan's training had changed. He no longer slowed down for her. He no longer corrected every mistake. Now it was real. Raw. Unforgiving. She slipped once. He knocked her down. She bled once. He handed her a cloth to wipe it. She stood again. He nodded. Days passed. By the end of the week, everyone noticed. She had grown faster than anyone expected. But still, she said little. She ate alone. She trained alone. And always, somewhere nearby. The human stood, silent. On the 6th day, the Academy posted a surprise. Open challenge sparring. Winners earned private lessons with top instructors. Volunteers were listed on the screen. One name surprised everyone. A small alien girl had entered. Gasps filled the room. What is she doing? She'll be crushed. Is this a joke? Rother stepped forward with a loud laugh. I accept your challenge. Cheers and jeers followed. The girl said nothing. She simply walked away. Toward the training dome. And Logan? He just stared. At the list. For the first time, a very small smile touched his lips. Only for a second. Then it was gone. Asterisk. The crowd inside the training dome was loud. Cadets packed the benches, whispering, laughing, pointing. Instructors stood at the edges, arms folded, watching closely. In the center stood Rother, tall, orange-skinned, his tusks shining under the lights. His fists were clenched, and his confidence was high. This was his stage, and everyone knew it. Across from him stood the small alien girl. No armor, no expression. Just a simple training suit and a pair of gloves worn from practice. Whispers ran through the dome. She won't last 10 seconds. This is a mistake. She's going to get hurt. But in one shadowed corner, leaning against a pillar, Logan watched. arms crossed, unmoving. His eyes were locked on her. Not Rother, not the crowd. Just her. An instructor stepped forward. This is a sparring match, non-lethal. First to knock down or disarm wins. He looked at both of them. Begin when ready. Then he stepped back. Rother grinned. I'll go easy on you, Runt. Just try not to cry. The girl didn't answer. She stepped forward slowly. Her hands went up open stance, light on her feet. Rother snorted. What kind of fighting style is that? He lunged forward with a heavy punch. The girl moved. Not fast. Not flashy. Precise. His punch missed. She slid under his arm and tapped his back with 2 fingers. The crowd blinked. Was that planned? Rother growled and charged again, swinging wide. She ducked, spun, and tapped his side again, then backed off. Now the room was silent. No one laughed. One cadet whispered, "She's playing with him." Rother's face turned red with anger. He roared and lifted both fists to crush her. This time, the girl didn't dodge far. She stepped in. A soft block. A twist. A foot behind his ankle. Crash. Rother hit the ground. Flat on his back. No one moved. No one spoke. Even Rother didn't get up right away. The girl stepped back, breathing steady. The instructor walked forward, looked down at Rother, then raised his hand. Winner. Cadet 47? Silence. Then gasps. Then chaos. Rother sat up, dazed. His eyes searched the crowd and found Logan, still leaning against the wall. The human gave him a look, not angry, not proud. Just one thing, warning. The dome emptied slowly. Cadets stared at the girl as she walked out. Some stepped aside to make room for her. Others simply nodded. A few said nothing, but their eyes had changed. Not mockery, not laughter, not respect. Outside the dome, she walked down a quiet path. Her hands still shook a little. Then she stopped. A black bag was sitting on a bench. No name. Inside. Fresh wraps, new gloves, and a single note. Just one word. Ready. She looked around. No one there. But she knew. She turned back to the path, and in the distance, Logan walked alone, heading into the dusk. No thanks were needed. She would be ready. For the next fight. For the next lesson. For anything. The Academy's energy had shifted. No one said it out loud, but everyone felt it. The small alien girl, once invisible and mocked, now moved through the halls like a silent force. Not loud, not proud, but no longer ignored. She had defeated Rother. And more importantly, she had done it using Terran fighting style. Instructors whispered among themselves, "This isn't Academy training." She learned precision strikes. Too fluid, too efficient. That's human. One instructor pulled up surveillance footage. They slowed the fight frame by frame. Her movements, her angles, her positioning. One word appeared again and again in the report. Terran. That morning, sparring rotations were reshuffled. Each cadet had to fight 2 rounds against random partners. The small girl was placed with a large quadruped warrior from the Zural species. Strong, fast, heavy armor. Usually unstoppable. The match started. He charged like a beast. The girl stepped once, just one small step, and he tripped over his own speed, crashing into the mat. Round 1. Her win. The second match was even faster. She ducked, rolled, and tapped his weak point under the arm. The instructor raised a brow. Match over. Other cadets now watched her like a puzzle they couldn't solve. Across the yard, Rother sat on a bench alone. His bruises had healed, but his pride hadn't. Every time someone glanced at him, he could feel it. Not respect. Pity. He looked over it. Her. She was training again, her body moving with speed and control. And behind her, as always, stood Logan, That same cold stare. That same silent watch. Rother clenched his fists. Later that day, 2 cadets tried to follow the girl after drills. Wanted to know her secret, but she vanished into the storage halls. They turned the corner and saw Logan, standing alone, not smiling, not speaking. The cadets turned around and walked away without a word. That night, in the empty gym, the girl trained harder than ever. Sweat covered her face. She repeated each move Logan had taught her over and over. Strike, block, step, twist. Each motion had a purpose. Nothing wasted. Then she heard it. Footsteps. She turned, ready to face whoever it was. It was Logan. This time, he stepped forward with 2 practice blades. He tossed one to her. No words. Began. The training was brutal. Logan was faster. He struck from angles she didn't expect. She bled once, twice. Her fingers ached, but she never gave up. She learned faster now. Her body moved without thinking. And when the final strike came, she blocked it. Clean, sharp, perfect. Logan paused. 4. The first time, he nodded twice. A mark of approval. She smiled. Just a little. The next day, combat drills resumed. The instructor asked for volunteers for open combat. She stepped forward. Gasps. Her opponent, a twin-headed alien from the Bracker species, ranked top 3 and hand to hand. The match began, and in only 12 seconds, it ended. 1 perfect flip. 2 hits. Disarm. Control hold. Silence. A new name whispered across the yard. Terran Ghost. The girl walked away without a word, but as she passed Logan, he finally spoke. Quietly. Just one line. You're ready for the next part. She turned. To him. What part? His expression didn't change. Teaching them what fear feels like. Fear doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. At the Galactic Academy, whispers were now everywhere. They followed the small alien girl like shadows. Beat Bracker's best in seconds. Someone saw her training with the human. No one moves like that unless they're being trained by a killer. The halls felt colder. Eyes followed her every step, not with mockery now, but with careful distance. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. She trained. She fought. And she won. Inside the command office, instructors reviewed combat footage. She's using Terran ghost patterns, one said. Modified, but clearly taught, another added. Who? The commander asked. Which human taught her? No one answered, but everyone thought of the same name. Logan. He never trained with others. Never spoke much. But he was always near. When she grew stronger. The academy didn't officially allow secret mentorships, but this was different, because fear was growing. Even among the staff. Rother couldn't escape it either. Once the pride of the cadets, now he heard his name in a different tone. Rother was dropped by her. Hasn't spoken since. He lost to the smallest cadet, and she didn't even try. He heard the words in the mess hall. In the halls. Even during drills. Rother's anger became quiet now. He didn't shout. He didn't boast. He just stared, especially at Logan. One evening, the girl walked alone through the lower halls. The lights above flickered. The academy always had power issues in this wing. She walked with calm steps, her gloves tucked into her belt. She didn't see the shadow behind her, but Logan did. Rother waited until she turned the corner. He stepped out, blocking her path. She stopped. You think you're something now? He said quietly. She didn't respond. Rother's voice grew low and heavy. You humiliated me. You've turned this place against me. Still no answer. He stepped closer. You think your human can protect you forever? That's when another voice broke through the hall. No, it said. I don't protect her anymore. Logan stepped from the dark. His eyes were colder than ever. She doesn't need me to stop you. Rother laughed once, sharp and angry. Then let's see. A private duel was requested. Instructors were informed. Conditions approved. No weapons. No witnesses beyond official observers. No interference. It would be Logan vs. Rother. But the crowd knew. They felt it coming. Word spread through whispers. Rother challenged the human. Cadets gathered in silence that night, just beyond the training arena's walls, holding their breath. Inside, the two stood face to face. Logan's hands stayed loose, relaxed. Rother's muscles were tense, rage hiding under every movement. You humans always think you're smarter, stronger. Rother spat. Logan didn't answer. The bell rang. Rother charged. The fight lasted 14 seconds. No one saw what happened clearly. Rother swung. Logan moved. A block. A twist. A foot slide. Crack. Rother hit the ground, disarmed, pinned. Face down. Breath gone. Logan stood over him. Calm. Quiet. Then he looked toward the dark glass at the edge of the arena. He knew the cadets were watching. He didn't speak to them, but they understood. Outside, the small alien girl waited. Logan walked past her without a word. But this time, she nodded. Not as a student, not as someone who needed saving, but as a fighter who now stood on her own. The sun rose over the Galactic Academy, but something felt different. The air was still. The halls were quieter. Even the usual loud. Cadets spoke in hushed voices now, because the story had spread like wildfire. The human dropped Rother in seconds. He didn't even look angry. The girl didn't flinch. She just watched. There was no video. The duel had been private. But somehow, everyone saw it in their minds. And for Rother, that was the true defeat. He sat alone in the recovery wing, a cold band around his wrist and shame burning in his chest. No one came to mock him. No one dared. But they no longer feared him either. They respected someone else now. Her and him. Meanwhile, the small alien girl stood in the outdoor training yard, going through slow motions. Strike, turn, block, flow. Her style was now clean, refined, controlled. Each movement told a story, not of power, but of precision, of patience, of lessons burned into her bones through bruises, sweat, and silence. A few cadets watched from a distance. One stepped forward. "Can you teach me that?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer. She only motioned for him to copy her steps. He did, slowly. Others joined. No one shouted. No one asked questions. They just followed her lead. Inside the academy's main hall, Logan stood before the instructors. They had questions. "You've been training her in secret?" "She's using restricted Terran close combat techniques." "Why her?" Logan finally spoke. "She didn't need power. She needed belief." The room fell silent. "She reminded me of someone who had no voice," he added. "So I gave her tools. She built the rest herself." One instructor leaned forward. "And now?" Logan's eyes narrowed slightly. "Now she's stronger than most of you." That evening, the academy hosted a public match for demonstration. The girl was selected as the closing act, paired with a visiting champion from another military school, a six-armed warrior, tall, fast, famous. The cadets were nervous. She was calm. The bell rang. What happened next became a lesson taught in classrooms for years to come. She didn't overpower her opponent. She read him, dodged when needed, struck when the moment was perfect. She never wasted a move. And in the end, the six-armed warrior tapped out on the ground, eyes wide in disbelief. The crowd erupted. Even the instructors stood and clapped. But Logan simply nodded once, like always. After the match, the champion walked up to her. "You fight like a ghost," he said. but your strikes feel like thunder." She smiled for the first time. "I had a good teacher," she said. And she turned. Logan was already walking away, vanishing into the crowd. He didn't wait for praise. He didn't need thanks. His job was done. Rother watched from the corner. He didn't hate her anymore. He understood now. Size didn't matter. Not species, not voice, not even strength. Belief did. That was the lesson. A lesson he would never forget. The end asterisk.